How's it going, everybody? This is your Astrology Horoscope for Monday, February 5th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moonbase. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. I know I did. I worked all weekend. I'm super tired filming this right now, but I'm excited about Monday. This is one of the most powerful days. Actually, this is one of many powerful days, right? So this is continuing the Sun Pluto moving into Aquarius. So today we have Mercury ingressing into Aquarius, conjuncting Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So this is where the Sun and Pluto moved into Aquarius together. So now, with that energy that came in, we're starting to really get the message here. We're starting to be able to mentalize this frequency and this energy. This is very potent. This is very powerful. This is very deep and intense. And it's not going to be easy for everybody to internalize this intensity here unless you're willing to break free. Be willing to break free and liberate yourself from patterns and where you're stuck, and be willing to revolutionize your way of thinking. This is Mercury, so this rules the mind. So the moon's in Sag today, trining and sextiling the nodes, trining the north node, sextiling the south node, while trining Chiron. Mars is now at 24 degrees. Venus is now at 16 degrees. Things are moving forward like pretty quickly now. Things are starting to really happen, and definitely this mental energy that's coming in here with Pluto and Mercury conjuncting now. The intensity is becoming at all-time high. So, if this is becoming too much to handle with this Aquarius Pluto energy, like, don't back down from it. This is the time when we don't want to back down from the intensity or the darkness coming through. Like, this is whenever we can really get to the bottom of things. Pluto and Scorpio, being ruled by Pluto, like, really wants to get to the bottom of things and uncover things and uncover the secrets and the unknown and anything that's in the dark or in the shadows. And Mercury now, it's like we're being able to verbalize it and see it clearly, think about it much more clearly, think about some of the more intense, deeper stuff that's going on in the world, and make much more healthier, stronger connections, and connecting the dots and connecting the pieces of what's been happening in our personal lives, but also what's been happening in the world and in the collective. Like, there's so much that we need to be aware of, and that really now we're not really being given the choice, but to be aware of these things. We're starting to make these connections within our minds and the neural pathways. Aquarius and Uranus rule the nervous system and the neurological system, being able to make these connections. And this is the moment when neural pathways that haven't quite connected, or people where they haven't quite connected, or the spark just hasn't quite matched. Like, this is when we're starting to realize where the connections are being made and where the connections definitely are not, because with Pluto, it's definitely about what is and what isn't. It's pretty left or right, black or white. It just is what it is. And especially with Mars and Venus and Capricorn, it's on or it's off. The connection is, or there is no connection. So when the connections are being made, it's in the most powerful, potent way. And it can be so intense, and it might be too much for the nervous system to handle. For some people going through this, there's going to be things going on in the world that this week that might really shake people up and make people pretty uncomfortable. Information is going to be coming out that's going to rock the collective, no doubt. I mean, it already has been, but now with Mercury here, the messenger of the sun in Aquarius, Mercury's going to catch up to the sun eventually. In Pisces. So this is a whole long thing here of, Mercury really gathering some information, and making the connections, and uncovering some dark shit within ourselves and our unconscious and the collective. Like, there's a lot that's going to be brought to the surface here, as Pluto does. And things can start to really boil up in our minds, and there can be a lot of mental pressure we can start feeling here. Mercury's eventually going to square Jupiter. So, there's a lot that's going to be revealed within ourselves and in the collective. It's Aquarius. We're talking about the collective. This is Pluto. These are the outer planets. We're talking about the collective. And at the same time, the moon in Sagittarius here is going to be trining the north node, sextile the south node. It'll make a trine over to Chiron, while sextile the sun. So there is this kind of positive energy of our destiny and getting to know ourselves better and getting towards closer towards this healing of these ego issues that we've been going through that have really affected our identities and our ego. But at the same time, while this is happening, where we can start to find some freedom and much more of a pathway, a much more of a clear pathway towards liberating ourselves from where we've kind of been stuck and debilitated within ourselves and in our ego. But where that's coming from is this Mercury-Pluto conjunction of what in very deep, intense things inside of your mind are starting to reveal themselves. Some truths that you've buried, truths that have been buried in the collective. Information that is just been secret. This is Pluto. Like, we're talking about secrets. What secrets are you holding within your mind? This is a time where things need to come out. Whether information is getting revealed just by happenstance, well, nothing just happens. There's always one thing that leads to another that allows things to come to the surface. And when we're talking about Pluto and evolutionary astrology, we're talking about cataclysms, right? Cataclysms is what forces evolution. It's that pressure from cataclysmic events, traumatic events that really force evolution here. And this is like being caused from information and words that are being said, information being shared. We could see some fucking cyber attacks this week. That's been on the surface. Like, this is when information can be used as a weapon. When we're talking about Mercury-Pluto conjunction, like, you don't want to weaponize information against people. If you're in community, you want to like use information to get to the bottom of things, to get to the truth, in order to heal with this moon trining Chiron, sextile the sun, trining and sextiling the north and south node. And, it's like we want to find new ways to heal and break the cycles, break the patterns. This is Aquarius, the sun sextile, moon sextile the sun in Aquarius. Like, we want to break the patterns, break our habits, because that's where we're going to find emotional freedom today with this moon in Sagittarius, is being willing to dig deep in our minds, get to the bottom, face the unconscious shit, and let it come up to the surface. Say what you got to say, because now's the time to say it. Mercury's been behind Pluto. So it's just, there's been things building up where it's just like, I'm not ready to say this. I'm not ready to share how I feel. I'm not ready to share this information. Yeah, I want to say this, but I can't. I don't feel comfortable. This is when it just pops. This is a trigger. This is a big trigger. Mars is going to catch up to Pluto here within the next week and a half. So when this information comes out and whatever is revealed within you or what's going on in the collective, by the time Mars gets there, it's go time. Like, it's ready to actually fucking deal with it. And when Venus comes to Pluto, Venus-Pluto conjunction, we're going to actually kind of see the value of being willing to go into that deep place and make those connections and find new ways to break the patterns and innovate and get to a very deep, intense place that we don't always go here. This doesn't happen often, So every 18 months, Venus and Pluto will come together, roughly, This is rare, where all the personal planets have to deal with Pluto in the very beginning of the year, right? Not the solar or astrological new year or astronomical new year. They're talking, the Gregorian new year. So we all are in this matrix together, right? So Capricorn, Aquarius, we're talking about the matrix and breaking free from the matrix. So all these personal planets dealing with Pluto at the very beginning of our new year, as the collective. Like, this is when, it's like, damn, our personal lives are being rattled deeply, especially our relationships with Venus here and the masculine and feminine going through a deep, deep, massive transformation. We're talking about Mars and Venus here, but with Mercury conjuncting Pluto before Mars and Mercury get here, it's like we can at least have a game plan of what this is going to be going through here, and we have to be willing to face the deep, intense shit, especially within, our relationship to the collective and how we connect with other people. Last week we went through so much relationship stuff and just intense, deep relationship stuff that had to be dealt with the moon in Libra and Scorpio last week, and now it's like we're dealing with Pluto this week, big time. So now we're starting to feel what this Pluto and Aquarius is really about, and we're starting to be able to understand it and put it together with Mercury here. It's like we can actually contemplate and have a future projection of what the next 20 years are going to look like here. This is kind of a preview. We didn't have Mercury, Pluto, and Aquarius last year. So this is the first time. So with Mars and Venus on its way to get there, we're dealing with big masculine, feminine issues transforming, and definitely, if you look out in the collective, there's so much shit going on around on the internet about male and female values and what it truly is in the world and what's necessary, or how values have changed and was it the right way to move in that direction. We don't really know, but definitely when Mars and Pluto come, or when Mars and Venus come and hang out with Pluto for a bit, there's going to be some shakeup there, and in our relationships, it's like, who's dominant? Who's the dominant one in the relationship, And it could be anybody with Aquarius. It doesn't matter who it is. But we're getting ready to face that in a very deep way, It's like with Mars and Venus and Capricorn, it's like we're really chasing our goals and really climbing the mountain and wanting to get to the top and wanting to really manifest shit. Mars is how we act upon our manifestation. Right? It's the actions we take to really make the future, to create the future, to penetrate the future. It's the phallic symbol. It's Mars. It's actually moving forward and penetrating the future. That's what Mars does. And Venus is where we receive. That's the feminine. So it's the give and take here, So when Mars and Venus come to Pluto, it's going to get down to the real nitty-gritty, deep and dirty about the givers and the takers, right? And who that is. And it's not going to look necessarily the way we think it could, especially with Mars and Venus in Capricorn. It's much more traditional. So this Mars-Venus getting ready to conjunct with Pluto, it's breaking traditions. That's what Aquarius does. It breaks the rules. I always say this. It's this is kind of how I feel. I've never heard anybody say this necessarily about Capricorn and Aquarius, but before Uranus was discovered, Capricorn and Aquarius were both ruled by Saturn. So to me, when we're talking about Saturn and we're talking about the rules and the boundaries and our limits and our limitations and physical reality, right? We can see Saturn in the sky. We can't see Uranus, but I always look at the old school way of Saturn ruling Capricorn and Aquarius. It's like, okay, Capricorn sets the rules, right? Capricorn plays by the rules. Capricorn knows its limits, its boundaries. It knows that it can only get to the top, and the top of the mountain as far as we can go. But Aquarius is like, sure, well, I'm gonna break the rules and rewrite the rules and totally revolutionize what physical reality really is. And that's what's happening. You know, the Apple Vision thing just came out. I don't know if you know anything about that. You know, I haven't gotten too much into it. I'm not necessarily into that kind of thing. But we're starting to see some of this wild-ass technology of this Aquarius-Uranus future start to come out. But is it good for humanity? Is it going to serve humanity? Is it going to be weaponized against humanity? I mean, this is when we're talking about Mercury, Mars, Venus, and Pluto together. Is it being used for the right thing? Are we using our powers for the right thing? I mean, we're talking about Pluto. We're talking about power. We're talking about our deep psychic, we could say magical powers, you know, with Pluto, if we want to use that kind of terminology. But how do you use it? You know, it's very like Star Wars, right? It's like Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader. Which path are you going to take? You know, you're going to be a Jedi, you're going to be a Sith. How are you going to use your powers? That's what this is about with Mercury and Pluto, and Mars and Venus getting ready to conjunct Pluto as well. That will follow Mercury. We want to use our powers wisely. We want to be able to use technology wisely. We want to connect with people in a much wiser fashion, and focus on healing. We want to really be focusing on healing right now. I know a lot of this Aquarian energy is going to be so intense the next few weeks before we get to Pisces season. But we're going to be having this Chiron North Node conjunction. So we really need to be focusing on healing these wounds and ourselves and our self-identities and where we're wounded and our egos, and on the South Node, you know, opposing Chiron. You know, our relationships and where we stand in our relationships, you know, so it's like we have to be able to like sometimes come down from this high frequency of Aquarius, because it's going to be really high, and not forget that you are on planet Earth, you know, and that on planet Earth, you know, we still got to work through our shit and heal and connect and have relationships, you know, while being in Capricorn Aquarius land, chasing our goals and creating the future and revolutionizing the future in a powerful way. So, you know, this moon in Sagittarius today, I mean, it's one of my favorite things. I love moon in Sag, especially when it's sextile the sun. So, you know, we're definitely breaking patterns and trying to find new freedom in life. Last week was definitely, you know, we've had to face a lot in relationships. So now we're starting to liberate away from that and get to a much more exciting place. It's definitely exciting with Mercury conjuncting Pluto today. I mean, this is powerful. Like, we're getting down to the roots, down to the nitty gritty, facing our shadow. Our shadows are going to be popping up a lot here, and being able to really analyze it, mentalize it, and not be afraid of it. You know, we don't want to be afraid. I mean, we see that in the New Age and the spiritual community all the time. It's just you know, it's like, oh, it's not all love and light, you know. And when we're talking about Pluto, like, we're not talking about the light. And when we're talking about Aquarius, we're not talking about the light. You know, Aquarius is cold as fuck. Pluto is the furthest planet out. You know, it barely sees the sun. So we're talking about our shadow. We're talking about the darkness, you know, and being comfortable existing in those places and going to those places and being able to understand it. That's what Mercury Pluto is all about, is being able to understand our shadow and understand the darkness so we can find the light. You know, we had this full moon in Leo, you know, it's like, that was a good reminder of being able to face our shadow and be in the darkness and, also aim towards the light and not forget. We can't forget with Pluto and Aquarius that we are beings of light. Light is what gives us life, So if life is just cold and meaningless and purposeless, which Aquarius can feel like, and empty and purposeless, we always have to remember that the sun is why we exist. But we have to be willing to also face our shadow and face the darkness and not be scared of it. And with Mars and Pluto on its way after this Mercury-Pluto conjunction today, it's the Plutonic Aquarian frequency is only going to keep getting more intense over the next few weeks. When we get to Pisces season, we're going to see Mercury, Saturn, Sun conjunct in Pisces. This is I think one of the most important transits of the year, next to Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, right? I think it's one of the most important transits. I would highlight Sun-Pluto conjunct, ingress into Aquarius, Sun, Mercury, Saturn conjunction in Pisces, Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus. I think are some of the most important transits of the year. So we're seeing all this at the beginning of the year. But it's the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's happening within just 2 months after these massive conjunctions. So the world is changing so rapidly. There's so much shit going on. Even in the media in the United States, they're not talking about what's going on in Europe. Europe is pretty much standing up to their governments. This is Aquarius. This is Pluto and Aquarius. This is what happened the last time 250 years ago when Pluto was in Aquarius. We saw the American Revolution and the French Revolution. Now it's happening globally because we're globally connected. So that's how time works. Time is a spiral and it only expands if you really pay attention to the cycles. So we're in the same era. It's just this, more expansive version of what we experienced 250 years ago. We're in the same frequency, just in a broader channel. So it's that if you really want to understand the astrological cycles and what we're going through now, go look at what happened the last time these planets were where they are now. That's where the answers lie. That's what the astrology is really about, It's not just your TikTok hey, this sign is gonna get rich. That's not it. So I feel like Mercury Pluto is kind of coming through me right now. It's getting down to the real shit. Getting down to the real stuff. I pulled the Wheel of Fortune today. And the Wheel of Fortune is the card of all the fixed signs, right? If you see here, this is Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leo. And Scorpio in ancient astrology was the golden eagle or the gray lizard. So that, this is very old. So this is the old depiction of Scorpio. So the Wheel of Fortune is the fixed signs. This is all 4 fixed signs. So there's so much fixed energy, even with Jupiter in Taurus, that Mars, Venus, and Mercury are going to have to deal with Jupiter as well. And then Uranus. And then, we're going to see the Sun square Uranus this week. So there's so much fixed energy, Aquarian energy with Pluto on top of that. It's there is this kind of gamble of what the future is going to be. We're seeing technology expand. We're seeing, with Jupiter and Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, we're seeing the farmers in Europe stand up. We saw that in Canada as well, but not so much because, I don't want to give my opinions about it, but we're seeing that. We're seeing this revolutionary kind of gamble of fuck it. Like in Capricorn, it was just like people are going to play by the rules and just accept it and let the boot be on their neck. Now with Pluto and Aquarius and all this Aquarius energy with the sun, now Mercury, eventually in the next week or two, Venus and Mars catching up. It's like people are not, they don't want the boot on their neck anymore. They want to, people are feeling called to say how they feel, and do what's right. And maybe it's not even the fact that we've put it off. It's just now it's come to the point where it's like people are waking up more and more each day, and with Mercury, Pluto conjunct as well. Like information is going to be hidden. It's going to try to be hidden as much as possible. Like whatever in your life that's hidden, like you don't want to be going out of your way to hide information. Like it's going to come up and bubble up, anyway, and it's going to bite you in the ass. And that's going to be happening in the world too. They're trying so hard to suppress what's actually going on in the world, in your media, which is very Neptune, Saturn, and Pisces. They're going to keep trying to suppress information, and with Mercury, Pluto, and Aquarius, it's like you don't want information to be used against you. You want to utilize that to get to the bottom of things and understand and face the shadow and face the darkness and be able to mentalize it so we can find better ways to expand and find the light and share the light with others and connect with others, because that's what Aquarius is all about, is connecting, and creating more freedom and liberating from what binds us in this physical reality. So it's going to be super intense day. That was a very intense Mercury, Pluto analyzation of today's astrological weather, so to say. So have a wonderful day. I want to hear about your Mercury Pluto conjunction experience today. So leave a comment, share this video. If you're new here, subscribe to my channel. Find me on Instagram, the TikTok. These horoscopes also go to Spotify. Go to the description of this video, and all the links to all my platforms are there. If you want to book a reading, the link to my booking website is there. Every reading for February is booked. The Pluto and Aquarius sale will go on until February 19th. If you still want to book it, it's going to be available, but it will have to book for March. But I'm going to leave it up for people who still want, because I had some emails come through say, hey, I wanted it. And it's like, well, it'll have to be for March. So yeah, the link is in the description of this video. And yeah, let me know what your Mercury Pluto conjunct experience today was, because I'm very curious, because this is all new. Like this is all a new frequency, all new vibe. So, for our own research of us, wanting to seek and learn astrology, because, as much as I'm sitting here sharing it with the people here watching, and I'm learning new things every day. Like that's why I love this shit. I love to learn and expand and share and grow and hear and learn new things. And, I have wonderful astrological conversations every day with people. So, and I learn new things all the time. So, and I'm also considering, and I'm about ready within the next week to do a weekly sun sign horoscopes. So if you want that, let me know. I've been thinking about it. So yeah, let me know. Have a wonderful Monday, Mercury conjunct Pluto day. It'll definitely be super intense. So peace out. Have a good one.